Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here this afternoon. My name is Steve Costello. I'm the Chief Executive of the BMO Harris Bradley Center. And on part of the city and the center, I want to welcome you here today to the UFC 164 press conference. What an exciting event we're going to have here on Saturday. On behalf of all of us, I want to express our appreciation for all the fans, for UFC organization, for Dana White, all the fighters, for coming to Milwaukee and allowing us to have our fans across the region experience the very best in this event. Of course, we've also got some great Harley riders from across the country, indeed from across the globe, coming to Milwaukee in the tens of thousands here over the weekend, and we know we're going to have thousands of them joining us here on Saturday as well. It's going to be an incredibly exciting weekend. It all starts right now. And we look forward to and thank all of our fans and all of the UFC and fighters for being here and joining us in Milwaukee. Have a great time while you're here. Now I'd like to introduce back to Milwaukee, welcome back to Milwaukee, and introduce Dana White, President, UFC. Thank you.
What's up, Milwaukee? How are you? Thanks for coming out today, everybody. We appreciate it. Crazy week. Great fights last night, and we'll have some great fights on Saturday night, too. Who has the first question? John?
Let's start with Anthony, please. Anthony, obviously, you were initially preparing for a shot at 145 before getting this opportunity. Had you done anything yet with your body, with your training, to start preparing for that drop before you got this opportunity?
Yeah, I was actually training in Brazil. Weight was down to like under 160, so I was real light training in Brazil. It was for the press conference. Rolling with Phil Davis. It was the last round. We were about to catch our flight, just get a light sweat in, and my knee just got put in the wrong position, and I heard a pop. I didn't know how bad it was until I got back, went to the doctor, and it was a torn LCL. And luckily for me, it didn't require surgery, so it kind of lined me up perfectly for this title shot. I mean, the cards couldn't have played out better. I mean, it's amazing the way this happened, so it's just crazy for me.
And a lot of people have looked at that and thought, you know, it's only about a 4-week difference between when you would have fought to now. When you talk about your condition, I mean, if this had been any other fight, if it hadn't been in Milwaukee, if it hadn't been for the title, would you be fighting right now, or do you feel like you kind of rushed it a little bit because this was such a huge opportunity?
I've been training since February, man. Right after the Cowboy fight, I knew I was getting a title shot. I've been in camp since February. This is one of the longest camps of my life. So I don't care who it would have been against or when it was. I was taking this next fight. And I mean, Dana knows I was out there begging for the fight with Aldo, and it just wouldn't happen.
And lastly for you, Anthony, obviously we thought you were going to have a title shot 2 years ago. Circumstances didn't work out that way. What's been your mindset these past 2 years? Has there ever been any anger, frustration, you know, kind of woe is me that things weren't working out for you, or, you know, have you been looking forward to this? What's it been like for you?
No, I mean, this is the biggest moments of my life, you know, so I want to enjoy this as much as possible. And my mindset has been finish fights and do it impressively, and the title shot will come, and that's all I've been focusing on, finishing fights and doing it impressively.
And real quickly, if I could, for Chad, please. Chad, before you had your title shot, you had 3 decisions in a row. You know, since then, it's been 3 first-round finishes. Is there something you could point to, whether it be the title shot loss, the experience? I mean, did something change in you, that your game changed, your approach changed? What's been the difference?
For me, I think it's just, you know, I'm kind of finding myself as a fighter, just getting comfortable with my stand-up. And, you know, after that first knockout of McKenzie, I kind of realized, you know, I could put people down if I hit them in the right spot. And I think it just kind of made my confidence go up. And then also having Dwayne Ludwig at our camp now, you know, drilling tons and tons of stand-up stuff we've never really done before has helped a ton. So I'm feeling good, man.
And if I could talk about your mindset as well, you said you wanted a rematch very clearly, but, you know, McKenzie, Mays, no offense to those guys, but you know they weren't going to get you a rematch if you got those wins. Were you frustrated all along the way that you weren't getting the fights that were going to get you back to where you wanted to be?
I mean, every fight's a great fight, honestly, in the UFC. I mean, it's experience, and like I said, it's going to help my confidence. But, you know, it is frustrating having guys fall out, get injured. You know, it's part of the sport, but yeah, it's super frustrating. You know, I had, I think, 4 guys pull out either last minute or, you know, even wasn't last minute, just still pulled out. And it sucks. You know, you go through a whole camp trying to get ready for a certain style, and then, you know, it's not who you're fighting anymore. Last minute, you get thrown someone. So, you know, it's all part of the sport, but yeah, it gets frustrating.
And just finally, do you feel like this is the one that could get you back there? I mean, you got guys like, you know, Lamas, Swanson that are there. Do you feel like you should be able to leapfrog those guys if you're impressive against Guida?
I do, man. I think if I put on a great performance, you know, this should put me right back in line for that title. You know, I'm feeling better than I ever have, and expecting to go out there and kill Clay, and I should be right back in there, so hopefully.
Hey guys, Ron Kruk with Inside MMA. Question for Anthony Pettis. Anthony, I was at your gym this morning interviewing your coach, Duke Rufus, and there's a local crew here that was doing a story on the gym, and I've seen you on TV a lot. Will you talk about just the support that Milwaukee and your hometown has shown you as you enter into this fight?
Yeah, I mean, right when the announcement was made that I was going to be fighting Ben Henderson opposed to TJ Grant, and I know TJ had an injury. I feel for him, man. I was in the same position, but Milwaukee supports our athletes. I mean, they all come out and they get after it. I mean, we got the Packers, the Bucks from the home of the Bucks, get the Brewers here. So I mean, everybody here just supports our athletes, and I'm feeling the love, and it feels good to be fighting in my hometown finally.
Benson had the home cage advantage in the first fight. Is there such a thing of having that hometown advantage?
No, because I mean, I won the fight in Benson's hometown, and you know, he has the same thing he can do here. I got to go out there and perform, and when that cage door closes, it's me and Ben. I mean, you can hear the crowd, you can hear everything else, but it's my skills versus his skills.
And then finally, a question for Josh Barnett. Josh, it's been over 11 years since you stepped foot into the octagon. The sport has changed immensely over that time. In your opinion, what has been the most important change in the sport of MMA since you last stepped foot in the UFC?
That would be a question probably that would take longer than is necessary for a press conference like this. But honestly, with media exposure, with a wider fan base, and a greater opportunity to gather fans and to be seen, I mean, now you're able to have everybody see everything that's going on. It's not like UFC 28 or in the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, aka the largest pawn shop in the world, and we're just fighting just because, you know, it's an opportunity to fight in the UFC. It's still the UFC. It's just that nobody's watching us, and then we're blocked out, and no cable companies want to carry us, and it's gone from that to where, you know, we have major alcohol sponsors, and we're on national television and commercials everywhere, and we all get to look like idiots hawking products, and that's great. That's a real plus.
And then lastly, for one question for both Ben and Anthony. When you guys fought previously, you were in the WEC cage, which was smaller. Do either of you think that the bigger cage, you know, is going to make a difference in the fight? And even when you fought Clay, that was in the, you know, the smaller cage. Do you think the bigger cage now was going to have an impact on the fight?
I don't really think the size of the cage is going to play a determining factor in which way the fight goes. Him and I are going to figure out which way the fight goes.
Yeah, when you're in there, I mean, you can't even tell the difference in the size of the cage. My game plan's always the same. I'm the same guy, and everybody knows what I'm going to do. You just got to stop it.
Clay, fighting here in Milwaukee, you're about an hour and a half away from Chicago. Do you feel some of the same pressures that you did back in Chicago, back when you fought in January against Hatsu Hayoki, when it comes to family and things like that, or is it kind of cooled down a little bit? Isn't not as intense?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't feel pressure when I fight at home. It's fun just to go out there and know that you have, you know, a good solid support system from obviously Chicago, you know, land-based fighters and my fans, and hopefully I have some here in Milwaukee too, you know, being that I faced, you know, the #1 contender in Anthony Pettis, who is a great competitor. I hope people don't look down on me for that. You know, it was an honor to face him, and I'm excited for him and Ben's rematch. I've been chomping at the bit to see these guys get at it again, so I know there'll be people coming over the border, and hopefully a lot of those motorcycle fans are fight fans too, because they're going to get a great night of fights here at the Bradley Center. So no, to answer the question, I don't feel pressure. It's nice to be back after 6 or 7 years of not fighting, you know, in the Midwest.
Dana, question, I guess a three-part question for you. We talk about this all the time. Yeah, you are the promoter, but you're also a fight fan, a huge fight fan. Can you look at these three matchups and describe what you envision happening on Saturday night?
Yeah, I love this card. Obviously, the main event is the fight people have been waiting for a long time. It's been a long, hard road for Pettis to get back here. I guess the same goes for Josh Barnett. It's been a long, hard road to get back here. Him and Mir are two of the best heavyweights now over the last more tthan a decade. These guys have been two of the best heavyweights in the world, and funny that finally now they're going to meet. And then the guys on the end here should be an action-packed, non-stop, absolute war.
For Frank, please. Frank, obviously, nobody likes to really dwell on their losses and that sort of thing, but I know that you're a student of the game. When you look back at your 2 losses, are there any common threads you can put together of things that went wrong that you need to correct or need to do differently, or were they just 2 different fights that you happened to come up short?
Well, the first fight, Dos Santos, was a phenomenal fighter. I wasn't as prepared as I should be going into the fight. The second fight with Daniel, I was extremely prepared, just not the confidence to employ my game plan. I think I waited to see what he was going to do, and I started up the fighting too late. I didn't really turn it on to the 3rd round, and 3-round fight, that's not enough time to do anything.
And I know you said ultimately, your eye is still on the title. You want to be a champion again, but is there any sense of desperation to feel that this could be a career crossroads of sort? Obviously nobody likes to think about the possibility of a 3rd straight loss, but would that be fairly devastating for you at this point in your career?
Obviously no one wants to lose 1 or 2 or even 3 in a row, obviously. But at the same time, as long as you're fighting game opponents, it kind of, in a sense, that helps. I think the scary aspect of our game is losing to somebody that no one knows who they are. That's a lot more frightening. So as long as I can stay in there and constantly fight people that are household names and that are recognized as top 10 competition, then it keeps you afloat a little bit better. You still got to string together wins, obviously, but nowhere near as detrimental as a no-name loss. If I'm fighting on a prelim and against a no-namer, that's a scary aspect.
Ben, you talked about staying focused on the game, on the fight plan. But also, I want to ask you, from your first fight with Anthony, is there anything that he did in that fight that you believe you can't allow him to do in this rematch?
Anything he did in that fight that I can't do in the rematch?
You can't allow him to do in this rematch?
I guess probably the biggest thing is him coming forward. He's way better coming forward than he is backing up. We're going to put the pressure on him, not allow him to come forward.
Great, thanks.
One follow-up, Anthony. Ben's had a few more fights than you've been able to have because of the injuries since that time. So you have more tape on him and what he's been doing in those fights. What have you noticed in his game over the last several fights that you think you can take advantage of on Saturday?
You go back to the first fight. He's a well-rounded fighter. He's the champ for a reason. He's got this aggression and this focus in the cage right now that's allowing him to win these fights. He's winning these decisions because he's making it exciting in there. He's pushing the pace. He's winning the exchanges. So not really something I can take advantage of. Something I got to match. I got to match that same aggression. I got to match that same intensity.
For Ben, a comment earlier was about, it was assumed or proposed that your fights weren't exciting. Your fights were exciting, but they were very close. How would that matter if this fight is another one of those razor-thin decisions? Would that matter to you, or would it be better for you to win it more convincingly, I guess?
Before he answers that question, first of all, he's undefeated in the UFC. Right. The kid, if you guys think back, when we talked about the 155-pound division, how stacked it is and how much talent there is in the 155, he's never lost in the UFC at 155, and he's been defending the title. I don't know exactly what it is. He's either going to tie the record, he'll break the record. He'll break the record if he wins on Saturday night for the most title defenses. He's got wins over Frankie Edgar twice, Cerrone twice. He beat Miller, Gilbert Melendez. He's beat everybody. I know he's not going to say that, so I wanted to jump in before he started talking. What the kid has accomplished in the UFC is unbelievable, and I know he has his own goal to break Anderson Silva's record. I have personally been the guy who said myself, he fought like Ben Henderson tonight, but the kid wins. The kid wins. He's undefeated. There's a lot to be said for that. So, go ahead. I apologize.
Appreciate it. I would just have to, agree, go off that, co-sign on that. What it all boils down to is getting your hand raised. Whether you do it impressively, emphatically, whether you do it by a split decision or whatever the case may be. Honestly, if the guy walks into the cage and slips on banana peel and I win, I will take that win. I don't care, guys. But that being said, of course, you're always after. The way I fight, I'm always after beating the guy up. I just want to beat him up. I don't care about judges or decisions or this or that. I just want to go in there and beat the guy up. I want a 5-year-old kid to be able to walk into the cage afterwards, and you tell the 5-year-old kid to say, "Hey, pick who you think won the fight." And I want the kid to be able to pick at me. Oh yeah, he won. The other guy looks all beat up. That's what I want.
Boom. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm going to square these guys off for photo ops. Thank you, Milwaukee. Appreciate it.